And it just seems like a pair of absolute weapons-grade narcissists. The more I read about this, the more I think stain on all your gruesome houses. The publicists involved, the actors involved, everybody involved seems to be absolutely horrible.
Piers Morgan just humiliated Blake Lively live on air, and honestly, it was nothing short of a spectacle.
I mean, it's sort of unprecedented that stars of this magnitude would dish it all out in public to this extent. I mean, she began with, I think, the New York Times' very well orchestrated, obviously, onslaught against him.
He called out her over-the-top PR stunts and the carefully curated facade she's been selling for years with his trademark bluntness. The takedown was so brutally honest that her devoted fans were left questioning.
Blake Lively has now been called one of the most influential people of 2025.
It was supposed to be just another day in celebrity commentary, but then Piers Morgan decided to drop a verbal nuke right in the middle of live television.
She began with, I think, the New York Times' very well orchestrated, obviously, onslaught against him. And I read all that and thought, wow, poor Blake Lively. I've got to say, I'm not really thinking that now.
Without a shred of hesitation, he tore into Blake Lively like a toddler dismantling a piñata. His opening shot was to allude to her much-publicized legal feud with Justin Baldoni, nothing more than a desperate PR stunt. A stunt. Can you imagine?
That she shows up, I guess they're in London, and yeah, there's a ton of fans and people in the back, but somehow there's this weird group of a select few, and do you notice what they're all carrying? Lady pool images.
Morgan didn't stop there. He went all in, pulling receipts on Blake's alleged lady pool fan fiasco. Yes, the same stage spectacle where fans miraculously appeared with perfectly branded signs. Because of course, grassroots support always looks like a corporate sponsorship deal.
Like, they all have the same lady pool image. Almost as if someone told them all, hey, hold this and stand here, and you'll get an autograph with her. And yeah, it'd be nice.
The sheer audacity.
She did what, like 2 voices? But now she's signing it as if that's her. It's a stunt double, which, I don't know, to me it feels like Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds are fat-shaming her, telling her that she couldn't actually be in the suit the way it is.
But wasn't she in just 1 or maybe 2 scenes? Why is she signing like she did the whole movie?
She claims she can't leave the house. It's so bad out there she can't leave the house. But now we get these events that she's putting out there. It's like, oh, see, which is it, girl? Are you actually getting all the hate and can't go out and can't get work? Or does the world still love you? Because you can't have it both ways.
But it gets better. Because Piers didn't just stop at the publicity stunts. He peeled back the entire facade. Blake Lively, the actress who claims she can't leave her house because of public backlash, was out there actively promoting films, posing for cameras, and flashing those trademark smiles.
Proudly signing away an image of a stunt woman that's not her in this clearly, in my opinion, staged PR op. Get some photos of me signing. Yep, I'm not afraid of anybody.
Let's call it what it is. Hypocrisy wrapped in a designer gown.
It's absolutely disgusting how desperate these two are in faking their image.
Piers exposed how she's weaponized this victimhood narrative to paint herself as Hollywood's ultimate damsel in distress, all while hopping from one red carpet to another. Truly Oscar-worthy. The timing of Morgan's takedown is almost poetic. Was it mere coincidence that he unleashed this tirade shortly after Time decided Blake deserved a spot on their most influential list?
But now we get these events that she's putting out there. It's like, oh, see, which is it, girl? Are you actually getting all the hate and can't go out and can't get work? Or does the world still love you?
The aftermath of Morgan's on-air roasting was as chaotic as you'd expect. For starters, let's talk about the contradictions. Blake says she's essentially a hermit now, too scared to step outside her front door because of the big, bad backlash. But then she's also somehow able to headline movie promotions, walk red carpets, and sign photos of her stunt double as if they're her own.
That they're literally this is literally there because they made a contribution for $200,000. Now it's not loading.
Morgan, sharp as ever, didn't let this slide. He slammed her for weaponizing a woe-is-me victimhood narrative while being front and center in the limelight. Hypocrisy is at its peak, but don't forget the timing. Was this sudden moral lecture from Morgan triggered by her inclusion in Time's 2025 Most Influential People list? Because, let's be honest, that list wasn't exactly winning universal applause.
Time magazine just announced the 100 most influential people of 2025. Wait, why is Blake Lively there?
And when you think this is enough, here comes another dumbest thing. Blake Lively was listed in Time Most Influential People list. Seriously? The world collectively looked at that and asked, are we being punked?
No, she's being heralded as we scroll down to her mention, she's being heralded as an titan. A titan. With Serena Williams, Ed Bastian.
She's called the Titan. Sure, if by Titan you mean the queen of perfectly posed Instagram selfies, color-coordinated fashion campaigns, and controlling every narrative with the precision of a well-oiled PR machine, then yeah, Titan is about right. But influential? Please. Piers Morgan wasn't buying any of it, and honestly, who could? So, let's break this down. Blake Lively, according to Time, is influential. Well, isn't that cute?
She regrets things, and then the next moment she's like, oh no, she's carrying this burden for all the other victims out there.
What's she influenced? The art of looking effortlessly stunning at every red carpet event? And don't forget that relatable girl next door image she's worked so hard to build, except, you know, when she's playing the victim in a PR scandal, or promoting the real behind-the-scenes chaos.
And they clearly ignored it. In fact, Blake has a history of romanticizing the Deep South with her weird blueberry muffins that she did. Like, she has a history of weird kind of racist things.
Meanwhile, her influence is about as convincing as a reality TV star claiming they don't know how to spell reality. It's Hollywood's greatest illusion, and Morgan, being Morgan, called it exactly as he saw it.
She's here because she made a contribution of $200,000 to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund.
And let's not ignore the elephant in the room, the infamous $200,000 guilt donation that magically appeared right after Blake and Ryan Reynolds got dragged for choosing a plantation for their wedding venue. Guilt donation? Well, that's something we never heard before.
Amid criticism for previously having their wedding on a former plantation. So let me get this straight. She is one of 2025's most influential people because she gave a PR donation because she got backlash due to her wedding that was on a clear plantation. That's what we're doing here. Interesting. Got it.
How charitable. Blake and Ryan must have been so moved by the backlash.
It's very clear what it is. The slave house, all of it. It's all very clear. Anybody who goes there, anybody who calls this place, it's not like they hide it from you. You have to be pretty dumb to not understand what actually happened there.
It's almost like they hit the jackpot of the PR world. The throw money at the problem and pray everyone forgets fund. Seriously, who needs accountability when you've got a fat check to smooth things over, right? Morgan, of course, didn't hold back.
You got married on a plantation, is what the tweet was. And then it sparked a fury all over Twitter, and then him having to now donate again. Clearly the backlash was getting severe.
He practically roasted her for this move. Calling it a textbook example of a PR panic button, he pointed out that, while her big donation might have tried to clear the air, the public wasn't exactly fooled. Spoiler alert, no one forgot.
Could they have? Would they have done that? That seems unlike them. They would, keep donating money to make themselves worthy. This whole thing is just shocking to me.
It's almost like there's a pattern here with Blake. Whenever there's trouble, there's always a massive donation or a carefully timed public appearance to save the day. The sad part? It's so predictable. It's almost like we're watching a badly scripted reality show. And guess what? We're not buying it.
It's shocking to me how they're now part of the Time 100 of this year as a titan for a donation they made that they were using to cover their own racistness.
Now, let's talk about Time's honor for a second. Was Blake's inclusion on that list about genuine influence or just another example of a well-scripted PR fairy tale? Again, Morgan wasn't buying it. Far from seeing Blake's public image as genuine, he tore into it, calling it Hollywood's greatest illusion. And honestly, can you blame him? This whole relatable girl next door with a touch of glamour shtick is starting to feel as authentic as a reality star's marriage. We all know what's going on behind the glossy, well-curated posts. And trust me, it's nothing we want to emulate.
Now, her and Ryan Reynolds have gone out there and tried to combat this narrative. They've been out there a while now, apologizing for the plantation wedding. What we saw at the time was a wedding venue on Pinterest. What we saw after was a place built upon devastating tragedy.
But Blake, bless her heart, keeps trying. She's got this persona down to an art. Glossy photo shoots, charity donations timed just right, and endless spontaneous Instagram stories where she just so happens to be her most real self with zero filters.
They do seem I agree with this expert. There's really nothing but a bunch of just forced smiles of them together, and I'm not buying it.
The truth? It's a carefully crafted illusion. Every post, every interaction is meticulously planned to make us think she's just like us. The only thing that's just like us about Blake is the way she's so good at pretending. Those lady pool fan signs at the Another Simple Favor event? Yeah, they're about as real as Blake's natural hair color.
And these two bullies think that they can just keep, of course, doing this full facade of how fake their image is. But Justin, when he defends himself, it's a, retaliation campaign. Oh my God.
So let's all take a moment to appreciate this masterpiece of modern PR. Blake's inclusion on Time's most influential list is just another chapter in Hollywood's grandest charade. Will we remember it in a few months? Probably not. But it's fun while it lasts, right? Social media wasn't kind either. Comments like, influential, more like infuriating, and is she influencing PR firms to work overtime? Flooded platforms. Morgan, always the provocateur, doubled down, demanding transparency. Because if you're going to play the philanthropist card, people want to see receipts. And speaking of illusions, let's dive into the glorious mess of Blake's promotional antics. First up, her awkward reunion with Anna Kendrick at the Another Simple Favor event.
Apparently implemented some cautionary measure before the trailer by blocking comments and stuff. So they're doing whatever they can do. They disabled contents from under the trailer, which is kind of crazy.
The body language between these two, less besties catching up, more coworkers who barely tolerate each other. Piers Morgan took one look at the footage and couldn't resist pointing out how forced it all seemed. Like a scene from a sitcom where the laugh track is the only thing keeping it alive.
Yeah, there's a ton of fans and people in the back, but somehow there's this weird group of a select few. And do you notice what they're all carrying? Lady pool images. Like, they all have the same lady pool image.
But the real gem here is the lady pool fan setup. Oh yes, the supposed superfans holding up pictures of Deadpool with Blake's face slapped on. Subtlety clearly wasn't invited to this PR brainstorm session, and Blake, ever the professional, happily signed those photos.
But it really does feel like someone just came out with a bunch of lady pool shots, which, by the way, that's not even her in the suit.
The problem? They weren't her photos. They were pictures of her stunt double because nothing says authentic connection with fans, like taking credit for someone else's work.
And this is all so reminiscent of, all these people had these random images, all the same ones that Ryan had, as he did this walk in the short window. And I've talked to people who have confirmed, oh yeah, that's what these people are set to do.
Now, let's not forget Ryan Reynolds, Blake's other half and potential co-architect of these PR stunts. Piers couldn't resist dragging him into the mix, speculating that his cheeky Deadpool persona might have inspired Blake's flair for theatrics.
And this is all so reminiscent of, all these people had these random images, all the same ones that Ryan had, as he did this walk in the short window. And I've talked to people who have confirmed, oh yeah, that's what these people are set to do.
The parallels are hard to ignore. Reynolds thrives on self-aware humor, while Blake, well, she's out here signing stunt double pics and calling it a day. Coincidence? Doubtful.
At the promotional tour for the film, Amazon's apparently implemented some cautionary measure before the trailer by blocking comments and stuff. So they're doing whatever they can do. They disabled contents from under the trailer, which is kind of crazy.
But even Amazon couldn't escape the fallout. When the trailer for Another Simple Favor dropped, the backlash was swift. Fans flooded the comment section, pointing out the awkward reunion and questioning the film's promotional strategies. And what did Amazon do? They turned off comments, because nothing screams, "We have everything under control," like hitting the mute button on your audience.
So this whole thing is just so messed up. So yes, they've apologized. It is what it is. They've donated a lot of money, but I just find the whole thing so damn hypocritical, and it's so odd.
Blake's PR team is likely sweating harder than a marathon runner in August. Between Piers Morgan's relentless critiques and the internet's unforgiving spotlight, they've got their work cut out for them. And let's face it, the cracks in the facade are starting to show. Blake Lively, the woman who managed to turn a straightforward legal feud into a masterclass in contradiction and chaos.
So negative press swirled around her during this whole, like a month, right? Later, she would describe this as though it was the pile-on against Trump. Honestly, it's like most of us, especially in Republican politics or the news, this is called Tuesday for us.
Let's dive into the never-ending drama that is Blake versus Justin Baldoni, a battle that feels more like a badly scripted reality show than a courtroom dispute.
It's funny how she goes back and forth a lot, and how she is like so happy and so like she doesn't care in photos, going on red carpets on SNL, baking donuts, and then the next moment it's like, oh, she's sad and she regrets things, and then the next moment she's like, oh no, she's doing this she's carrying this burden for all the other victims out there.
First up, Blake's legal strategy, or lack thereof. Her team's approach seems to involve a lot of missing texts, ever-changing claims, and enough plot twists to make a soap opera blush.
Is now offended by her implications in the lawsuit that he wasn't even qualified for this small little nothing role.
One day, it's about unprofessionalism on set. The next, it's about invasive birthing scenes. And don't even get us started on her alleged victimhood narrative. At this point, her legal arguments feel less like a coherent case and more like a game of legal Mad Libs.
But I kept thinking, and apparently that they do speak out about Justin. I haven't seen the interviews yet in a positive way. But I keep thinking about the actors. I'm like, okay, these unnamed people that are going to be coming out supposedly, who are going to stand up on the, on like hand on the Bible and stand up in the court and be on Blake's side as people that felt uncomfortable.
Here comes Justin Baldoni, the man who, unlike Blake, actually seems to have a clear understanding of what's going on. Piers Morgan, ever the knight in shining armor, stepped up to defend Baldoni, siding with the guy who's just trying to keep his reputation intact. Because, not everyone can be like Blake, who can't seem to stop tripping over her own contradictory stories.
It's not going to be just a lawsuit. It's going to be the kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, admissions, documents, which prove exactly what she did.
And here's the thing. Baldoni didn't even need Piers to back him up. His co-stars have already been doing the heavy lifting for him.
I'm not going to speculate as to Miss Lively's motivations for mentioning me in the complaint. Needless to say, my experience working with her is very different from the one she described in her lawsuit.
Take Adam Manchin, for example. The guy who played Dr. Dunar in It Ends With Us had a field day debunking Blake's wild claims of unprofessionalism on set.
And then he also was trained at Oxford. He's a Shakespearean trained actor. He's been in many productions, and I believe he is a very accomplished actor in his own right.
Manchin didn't just shake his head. He called Blake's allegations offensive and stood up for the entire crew. But sure, Blake, keep telling us about how tough your life is while the people you worked with are literally calling you out. Real victim energy there.
Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick have reunited for another Simple Favor event, and yes, they look awkward.
And now, let's talk about the smiles. Or rather, the forced awkward grimaces masquerading as smiles during Blake and Anna Kendrick's press tour for another Simple Favor.
Ham Yard Hotel, all smiles. Everything this girl is now doing is all smiles, and a lot of fake smiles too, to be fair.
If these two were trying to sell besties reunited, they failed spectacularly. The tension was so thick, you could cut it with a knife.
The expert said. She also said that when Blake poses alone, she goes into preen mode, luxuriating and purring in front of the camera with some preening hair flicks and some puckered, confident, self-satisfied smiles.
Let's talk about that iconic press tour moment between Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick, because it was golden. Body language experts were practically throwing a party over how Blake seemed to be luxuriating in front of the camera, while Anna Kendrick looked like she had just been told she was the 50th backup option for a role she didn't even want.
Blake seems to be investing more when it comes to doing the heavy lifting of looking happy and amiable. It could be the pressure to visually deny the rumors of some kind of a rift that is causing their unrelaxed looking poses, but they're not seeming to project any sense of easygoing relationship here.
You know the kind of look. A mix of polite discomfort and the faintest glimmer of, can this end now? It's like Blake was all smiles, perfectly posed, soaking up the spotlight, while Anna was mentally planning her escape route. In all his sarcastic glory, Piers Morgan was living for this moment. He didn't hold back, suggesting that their appearances weren't about promoting the film so much as about desperately trying to fix whatever had already gone wrong. And, let's be honest, the whole thing felt like one big PR cleanup operation.
A lot of fans are speculating, oh, the drama is clearly going because now Blake's name is a little bit higher. But that's common, and I think they did that in the last one too. I don't see that as a shade. It's all in the negotiations, and usually the agents all do that.
But hold on, there's more. It wasn't just the body language that had people talking. Rumors started circulating about diva antics behind the scenes, fueling the fire of speculation. Industry insiders began whispering that Blake's need for control might be the source of all the tension. Could it be that the supposed united front they were putting on was more about keeping up appearances than actual camaraderie? Seems pretty likely, right? The cracks in the facade were practically screaming at us, no matter how many smiles they plastered on for the cameras.
But what I really want to ask, did she really go and stage another photo op with people just like her husband did?
The more Blake tried to project this image of polished perfection, the more it became painfully obvious that the whole thing was, well, not that polished. They were trying so hard to seem like besties, but their interactions screamed anything but. Every awkward pose and forced laugh just added fuel to the fire, reinforcing the idea that Blake's PR machine was working overtime to clean up a mess that was way beyond repair.
There's no having conversations to work out the problem then. Only when it's a huge social movement and you have already previously been labeled racist for racist muffins and plantation weddings, then you gotta work overtime to make it work right.
It's almost like they were trying to pull off an I'm totally fine vibe, but the reality was glaringly different. If anything, these photo ops weren't shifting the narrative. They were reinforcing it. The more they tried to force that look how well we're getting along story, the more we all saw through the cracks in their happy little facade. And let's be real, no amount of PR wizardry could make this go away. When things are this blatantly off, even the best spin doctors can't fix what's already broken. How the mighty fall, or in Blake Lively's case, how the mighty trip over their own designer heels. Piers Morgan, always armed with a verbal dagger, recently suggested that we might be witnessing the beginning of the end for Blake's career. And honestly, can we argue?
As I read that, I assumed, why would she make this up? She's a pretty big deal. She's got a lot of power. Like, why would she want to risk putting such a big lie out there? That could also be easily proven false.
Let's take stock. First, we have the legal feud with Justin Baldoni that feels less like a quest for justice and more like a never-ending episode of Hollywood's pettiest lawsuits. Then there's the PR mismanagement, a symphony of missteps so loud, it's drowning out whatever credibility she had left. And of course, her infamous inclusion in Time's most influential people list, which only seemed to fuel the flames of public backlash. What was meant to be a crowning achievement turned into a meme-worthy disaster, with critics accusing her of buying her way onto the list through a conveniently timed $200,000 donation. Philanthropy or PR panic? You decide.
Well, people are allowed to come forward and defend themselves, Blake. This isn't retaliation. You ensued that this guy was some creepy weirdo.
Media critics haven't been kind either. Many are now asking if Blake's public image, a carefully crafted narrative of perfection, philanthropy, and relatability, has finally hit its expiration date. The cracks in her facade have been showing for a while, but this recent avalanche of bad press might just be the tipping point. Has she overplayed her hand in manipulating public sympathy? It's not like Hollywood has a shortage of stars willing to step into her spot, after all.
And she has, you could say, established her brand as someone who is anti-abuse. I think it's really important to now stake a horse in this race and say, I obviously was completely manipulated. And
so, what's next for Blake? Some are speculating a rebranding effort, complete with teary interviews, vague apologies, and perhaps a well-timed return to acting in a critically acclaimed indie project. Others predict a quiet retreat, letting the storm die down before attempting a comeback. And then there's the possibility of her doubling down on the drama, because if there's one thing we know about Blake, it's that she rarely misses an opportunity to make everything about her. Now, let's talk about the people. The ones who ultimately decide whether a celebrity sinks or swims. Spoiler alert, things aren't looking great for Blake. Public opinion has taken a sharp nosedive, with polls and social media flooded with comments that range from disappointed to downright savage. Backlash has been trending for days, and you know it's bad when the memes start rolling in faster than her PR team can issue statements.
then she asked him herself to play Ryle in the movie, and things were great. Until Blake Lively.
Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's position in their feud seems to have only strengthened. His calm demeanor and well-supported rebuttals have painted him as the reasonable one in this mess. While Blake is busy signing stunt double photos and spinning victim narratives, Baldoni looks like a saint by comparison. And let's be real, the public loves a good rising from the ashes story. Unfortunately for Blake, she's playing the villain in his hero arc.
It's wild how she is tripling down and continuing to try to paint herself as a victim, as now the actual witnesses are coming forward and be like, no, nice try, girl. Not anymore. I can't sit back in silence. I got to defend Justin, and I got to defend myself.
So, is Blake Lively done? That's the million-dollar question. On one hand, Hollywood loves a comeback story. On the other, some reputations are too far gone to salvage. As it stands, Blake is teetering on the edge, and it's anyone's guess whether she'll find solid ground or plummet into irrelevance. One thing's for sure. If she does manage to claw her way back, it's going to take more than curated Instagram posts and staged fan photos. Blake, if you're listening, maybe try a little honesty for once. Or, just stay out of the spotlight for a while. If you're as obsessed with the Blake Lively-Justin Baldoni drama as we are, don't forget to hit that like button and smash subscribe. You won't want to miss the next round of this ever-evolving facade.